director of the movie, Joseph Kosinski. Call sign Payback, J. Ellis. Fanboy is here, Danny Ramirez. Please welcome Monica Barbaro. The man who will forever be known as Bob, Louis Pullman. Coyote is here, Greg Tarzan Davis. Please welcome Hangman Glen Powell. The man without whom none of this would exist, the producer, Jerry Bruckheimer. And please welcome Miles Teller. Please have a seat. Okay, I'm curious, and so is Mr. Bruckheimer. Who in this room just saw this for the first time? No shame in it. Wow. Is that what you expected, Jerry?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, has anyone seen it 5 or more times? Wow.
Let's go!
Has anyone seen it as many times as Glen Powell's family? Is there up to how many?
20.
20. Anyone seen it that many times?
Glen Powell's family's here. Right now.
Jerry Bruckheimer, I'm curious to know, you look at your filmography, it's so lengthy, it's so varied. I feel like the first Top Gun is one of the more kind of ensemble-y pieces that you did over these decades. Did it remind you of that experience when you were helping to put the cast together for Maverick?
It's always great when you have a large cast, and we're very fortunate to have these wonderful actors up here with me tonight. I'm so thrilled that they all could make it because they're all working all over the world. They've become so successful since the Top Gun started. But the leader of the gang is always Tom Cruise, and he's the one that works so hard, cares so much, spends time with every single actor. They ask questions. I want your career. I would like this. I would like that. And he spends the time talking to them, working the scenes with them, constantly working on the script, working with Joe. It's such a hard worker. He loves being on a movie set. He wouldn't want to be anywhere else than making movies for large audiences. And what's so interesting about Top Gun is it was almost $1.5 billion, which is an enormous hit movie. But it was bigger foreign than it was domestic. And what's so fascinating about that is it just shows when we do something right in Hollywood, it goes around the world. It's not a red state movie, it's not a blue state movie, it's a movie for everybody. And that's what I'm so proud of.
So you were about the same age. You were 12 when the first Top Gun came out. What did you kind of want to remind yourself about how that movie made you feel as you were casting and prepping this one?
Well, I remembered that world that Tony Scott created and how beautiful the film was, and obviously the film that made, Tom Cruise a superstar. So for this film, I wanted it to feel like it was in the same universe as that film. But we wanted this film to reflect the Navy as it is today, which is very different than it was in 1986. So the first thing I did is I flew out to a carrier after getting the job. I went out to the Teddy Roosevelt and spent a couple days out there and just got a taste of what life is like and spent a lot of time with these men and women. And as we were working on the script, we started using some of the people we met as kind of ideas for these characters, and then, you know, working with Denise Chamian, who's an incredible casting director. She introduced me to almost all the faces you see up here. I mean, I'd worked with Miles before. I'd had a meeting with Glen before, but I think everybody else was new to me. Obviously,
I built your garage.
But yeah, Denise introduced me to all these new faces, and we just went through this long process of kind of narrowing it down to the, you know, who was up for this incredible journey.
Jay, you and John were kind of reminiscing about seeing the lock picture cut 2.5 years ago. I think for some of you guys, it's 4 years ago from getting cast to now. How did you deal with your impatience about wanting the world to see your work and see this movie?
Luckily, it wasn't just me going through it. I probably would have pulled all my hair out and got kicked out of my house. But, you know, we were all on a text chain together. We were constantly talking. Tom would text us every time the movie got pushed back. We would talk to Jerry. We would talk to Joe. I think as much as we wanted the world to see this movie, I think we also knew, and we're all very like steadfast in the fact that like we wanted the world to see it in theaters, because for those of you who just saw it for the first time sitting in this room on that large screen, it's such a powerful way to watch the movie, and it reminds us of why we go to theaters. And I think every single one of us, as frustrated as we would be, Glen had this joke that he was like, I've been waiting for my career to launch for 4 years. And literally that's how we all felt. We were like, come on. But it is so much sweeter on this side now that we actually had that theatrical experience.
Glen, what about Hidden Figures? John Glen, SAG Award winner. Come on.
How quickly they forget.
What was your joke?
About Hidden Figures, man. By the way, you know, Jay actually, when we started this process, he had the voice of a 25-year-old man, and now he sounds 75 years old. It's been a long journey.
That's how long this movie has been making, guys.
John,
Oh, actually, wait. Do you mind if I jump in real quick?
please.
I had one of those videos. Sorry, what? I had one of those videos on your phone that like says "on this day." It says "on this day 4 years ago." I have a video of the swim fizz test at Miramar. It is all of us going in the helo dunker, doing ejection training, literally doing everything at Miramar. We were in the water for 6-7 hours, something like
Drowning.
that. But that was literally my my memory today. So 4 years ago today. We all did it today.
So, John, I've known you for about 20 years. I was going back and realizing that's how long ago we met.
I built your garage.
And I know you as the kind of lovely, fun guy that you are, but you're such a dick in this movie.
I prefer the term antagonist.
Okay. Is it easy or hard to just turn off the natural charm, John?
You're not going to out-charm Tom Cruise. So it was pretty. I understood my role in the hierarchy there, but no, it's not that hard to do that. It was the part that I was born to play. In some ways, it's exciting. It's obviously exciting to be part of the next chapter of this franchise. It's exciting to play opposite someone as legendary as Tom Cruise, and you know. Our experience in doing this was, as Jerry mentioned, was led by this kind of certainty that Tom presents in all phases. So when the massive uncertainty of COVID happens and no one knows what's going to happen from the next day to the next day to the next day, the one thing we knew was that Tom was going to land this plane in every way, in every metaphorical way possible. And that was the kind of thing that, to get back to your earlier question, was our kind of guiding star, was that this is not going to be fumbled at the goal line in any way, shape, or form. and the exponential success that it's enjoyed because of that certainty has been an incredible experience to behold from this side as well as that side.
Miles, so many of your most memorable moments, like it's what my dad would have done, right? Are playing off the emotion, the residual emotion that we all feel from the first movie, and that is really amped up in this one too. Was that part of what made playing Rooster the most interesting for you?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the first movie, and I remember Tom, I think, and Jerry telling me this, is that when they killed off Anthony Edwards' character, killing off Goose in the middle of a movie, at that, like, in that kind of a movie was pretty much unheard of. And it really affected people. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to or have, talked about their experiences saying, when we cut to that flashback of Goose, on the piano, at the end when I say it's what my dad would have done, it's really emotional. And Jerry's talked about this. Hollywood, we know how to do action sequences, but for Top Gun, and with this movie, I think why it really resonated with people is the emotion. And so I was coming in, I didn't have to act that. As soon as you know that I'm Goose's son, those stakes are set. And I feel like I was put in a really good position. I thought the character was really fleshed out, and it was multifaceted, and I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder and all that stuff. And then, the third act, now it's, as Tom would say, now it's Butch and Sundance Kid. Now we're behind enemy lines, and it's that kind of two-man thing. So, yeah, I was really appreciative of all the work that went in before I got there with the writers and them giving me such a wonderful character, and Tom allowing a new generation of young guys to come in and get some spotlight. There's a lot of people that wouldn't be comfortable with that, but Tom is so gracious, and we all had our opportunity to shine in this movie, and I got a wonderful part. Thanks.
I think the real success of the movie, besides it being beautifully done, is the emotion. Right. And Miles hit it right on the head. It's all about the characters and the emotion that ride through the entire movie.
Louis, obviously, you have to be a certain type of person to even take on the roles that, all of you guys play, because it required so much more than just showing up on set and acting and delivering lines. It was all of this crazy prep. For you, would you say, and I'm curious to know what the others of you think too, did you take this part because of the kind of air training that you would have to do, or did you
I'll
take
answer
it
that.
just,
No.
or
Lewis, that's a hard no.
did you almost not take it? Am I traumatizing you with this question?
There was no moment where I didn't almost not take it, but they even if they had come to me and said, you're gonna do this, you're gonna get all these incredible gems of wisdom from Tom Cruise, you're gonna meet some of your new best friends, you're gonna have some of the best experiences of your life, but you are gonna have to fill a 5-person jacuzzi with vomit, I would have still signed up. They didn't say that. They just said, "Are you afraid of flying?" And I said, "I fly JetBlue every month." More of a swimming pool, I'd say.
There's one phrase that I've learned, I guess, from some of you guys in the interviews I've watched, and the phrase is called "Puke and Rally." So when you're filming one of these sequences where you were actually in the aircraft, you were up there for 2 hours at a time. So Danny, if you puked, which apparently you did, what if you had kind of just started this 2-hour stint up there? Did the puke just have to live up in there with you?
Well, for me, most of the times it happened at the most crucial points of the scene, where you're really pulling the most G's and essentially helping the puke get out. But I think
Show us what it looks like.
Yeah, I'll show you guys later. But no, I in college, I didn't know how to puke and rally. I would go to bed and call it a day. But then here, knowing that we were a part of cinematic history, and if you didn't throw down the scene, you'd be cut out of that part. And so you kind of were then okay, I have 5 minutes to level out, and just breathe through my nose, and then just and then just pull 7 Gs again, and then pull them again and again until we get it right. So there was just like this, like, and I think that was like through the support of everyone here. It was everyone knew how rough it was, and knowing that like the moment I land, you take out that little memory card, you plop it into this TV, and it's 30, 40 people in the room observing what you just shot. And as the stakes kept getting higher in the story, we started, I don't know, we'd take notes of everyone's like experience up there, and then we'd realize like we're going into this place, like blind, we don't know where, essentially like how some, like in a black box theater, you know that you're in the black box theater. On set, on the ground, you've seen the set, you've done the rehearsal there. So then going through that experience of like not knowing what you're going up to, but then like that camaraderie in the room of seeing the tapes, like made all the puking in the world worthwhile.
Puke and Rally, baby. Puke and Rally. Wait, so Monica, talk me and everybody through this. Because when you guys were filming those sequences, you weren't just an actor. You were camera operator, you were makeup artist. What all did you have to do besides just delivering your performance when you were filming those sequences?
I just want to interject and say one thing she didn't have to do was puke and rally.
You never puked. Never puked.
You rallied us all.
I mean, I've said this 1,000 times. I think my experience, people sort of applaud me as if it's something that I did that was great, but I think the people who puked and had to rally and shoot the most high stakes film of anyone's lives. I mean, no one's done like flight sequences like this in a film. I mean, no actor has gone through what we have, and so to have to do all of that, and the intensity on the ground was immense, let alone in the sky. And so to puke and stow it away, and like you said, just fly around with your puke on your leg, basically, because you can't like flop around when you go upside down, so you have to like secure it and do all this stuff. At one point, Lou had a bloody nose. He's like, hold on, I just threw up and I got a bloody nose. Like, oh. Next time he goes, okay, I'm ready to go. And the pilot who flew both of us was like, he's a badass. I just feel lucky that I didn't throw up. But genuinely, that experience sounds horrifying. But yeah, we had to do everything. I guess it was sort of, in some ways, a little more like theater, in that all of our notes would come very intensely, in rehearsals before we went up. All of our briefs and debriefs, which we were there for everyone else's briefs and debriefs, even if you weren't shooting that day, you were there in your sweatpants supporting before and after the flight, and learning from whoever was going up and making mistakes and not making those on your run. So Joe would direct us in our briefs, and we'd been working on these scenes for days and days prior. We would get into a like wooden box that was developed. Some point there was a lot of trial and error. At some point, like after a few flights, there was a box built very quickly to replicate a cockpit, so we could go through every single stage, because actually we didn't even have 2 hours up there. It was an hour each time, because there was very limited range time. We were actually flying in the like breaks between actual Top Gun pilots' range time. So we had just like these short bits of time to go out there, shoot our things, come back, watch the footage. And so we rehearsed everything to a T. Every minute of our flight was like carefully delineated on these knee boards we got to have. And yeah, we were doing lighting, we were directing our pilot, making sure, the sun was in the right place, because if I flew in the morning and Lou flew later that day, we had to fly like very specifically different directions to make the sun look like it was a continuous scene with the two of us in one jet. So it just was like the things we had to think about were pretty endless, which, helped that we had gotten all the training that we did. But sometimes with like all of the flight stuff, like I think it's insane that we all flew, and I think that's unbelievable. But like when I think of this movie, I guess as an actor, one of the greatest things that I learned from everyone here, and from Jerry and Joe and Tom and Christopher McQuarrie, was how responsible we were for not only telling our own story, but helping tell the story of the characters around us. And having very clear points of view of everyone in every scene, because we didn't have a lot of film real estate, like a lot of time to give the audience like full pictures of who these characters were. And yet, you know, all this flying is for nothing if by the time we go on the mission, you don't care if we come home. And that's a mistake loads of movies make. You're like, well, yeah, big crescendo, I don't care.
We care about all of you.
Well, but I mean, it was like a testament to like you see Hangman immediately get the darts on the bullseye. He actually did that, worked really hard to make us all look like pilots who have great hand-eye coordination. Then, like,
That really was
That was
one
a
of the
real
greatest moments
bullseye?
in my life, actually hitting a bullseye in front of Tom Cruise.
I thought that was the only CGI part of the movie.
Everything was practical. And then our skepticism of him, and then you meet Bob, and you love Bob immediately, and then you get to learn that, like, maybe you like Phoenix because she actually gives Bob the pool cue. So then by the time that you're meeting Miles, and there's a friendship, Rooster, and there's a friendship
Why does
there.
everyone else get to be called by their call sign?
It's too great. I just can't unsee Miles Teller. It like those little things. It's the kind of scene you can watch. I mean, you know, the writing is beautiful, but you can watch it on mute and understand what's going on. And that's where I think, like, ensemble-wise, I'm actually most impressed by each person.
And also just like shout out to your editor, Eddie Hamilton, because you guys are doing like, obviously every time you're playing, you're not acting a scene. You probably just have kind of these wild lines that are out of context that you have to deliver, and then in the edit it all comes together. It was amazing. Tarzan, I'd love to know, you have an interesting challenge that you had to do, which was to make us believe that you were unconscious.
He was.
Whoa. First off, I don't get tired.
You got tired.
So if I talked to Paramount already about getting the best actor nomination for that performance in the F-18. No, it was pretty intense trying to do that. I mean, we practiced it with our great Chuck Cole. What are you doing? We practiced the maneuver with Chuck Coleman, who was our flight instructor in that extra 300. Thank you. But it was very, very much intense. Imagine doing that over and over and over. Like we said, you only have so much time to get that right. And you don't know if you got it right or not because you're not up there with a monitor. So after you do it one time, it's not like you can go and say, hey, Joe, how does it look? No, because Joe's way at base somewhere doing forget all. Who knows? Because, you know, you're up there by yourself. You're the only person acting with your pilot and stuff. So it was like, okay, boom, do it. And my pilot was like, okay, you think we got it? I said, I don't know. That's the first one. You got a camera up there, you got a monitor. And he's like, no, okay, so we'll do it again and again and again. I think the challenging part of it was purely not blacking out. I came very, very close.
Tarzan's being humble. His performance in that scene was one of the first things we shot, and it was the moment where we were all, like Danny was saying, we were all sitting around the monitor, and when we saw what he did in that sequence, we all jumped up and cheered because we finally had achieved what we were working so hard to achieve, which was a real dramatic, realistic sequence. And they really were diving towards a mountain when he did that. And he really did pass out because no one's eyes go in opposite directions. You can't make your eyes go.
After the debrief, we sat around, just like the boss came up and he's like, cool.
He wasn't completely with us, no.
Tarzan, I think what Joe is trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise. The award
For sleepiest performance.
You know, that is I got paid to go to sleep on the job. So meet y'all.
Glenn, I want to know, how did you apologize to Tom Cruise after you called him an old timer and pops?
He's still apologizing.
Weren't those improv?
He had a whole page.
Fossil was the improv.
Yeah, I did. I did one. Yeah, that was actually one. basically go up in the plane and you can kind of do whatever you want up there, you know. So you just kind of record whatever. And I recorded this line that said, "For all you listening at home, this is how you bury a fossil." I wrote that, and immediately after I said it, I was like, "Oh my God, Tom's gonna see this." I was like really nervous. I was actually anxious. I told you, because I went to Eddie's thing and I was like, "Hey, has Tom seen this yet? We can just like totally cut stuff out, right?" Because I was just like ripping on that 1v1 with Mav. I really kind of laid into Mav. I really went at it.
Yeah. Well,
And
you had a
immediately
notebook.
was-
You had a notebook with like 30 ideas.
I saw
it's
that.
like,
I got
yeah.
yeah. It was just like a
And they
roast.
made him into the film.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if there's so many moments that I love, but the one moment I really love is to see all of your oh shit faces when you realize that Maverick is your instructor after you've been so rude to him the day before. So like we see Glenn's oh shit face. I know we see Jay's oh shit face. We see kind of one from you, Miles, but yours is a little bit different. But did you guys like? Are you like in front of a mirror practicing your holy shit face because you know you have to get it right?
Well, let me say this. Before, we were all filming. I think this was the beginning of our film shooting at that time. And Tom is not there. So we're doing this one scene constantly, and nobody's there when you turn around. They say, okay, cut. But somebody gave word that like, oh yeah, Tom just pops up sometimes, so you never know. This is way in the beginning. Well, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. So this one particular time, you know, they said, okay, blah, 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 Pete Maverick. And we look, and Tom Cruise is actually right there. And you're like, oh shit. Okay, so it's not the reaction that made the film, but you're kind of like, oh, he's really right there.
Listen, you guys, I know you've been on like months long of a press tour about this movie and you've talked about the football scene forever, but I don't think this audience has necessarily been here for every Q&A that you've done, so we have to talk a little bit about it. Namely, how much shit, John and Lewis, did you give everybody else when you found out that you were going to keep your clothes on?
All right, so here's the truth about that scene. Let me just say, first of all, the way the scene was conceived was shirts versus skins.
Oh.
That was not in the script.
It was not in the script, but the idea was I was like, okay, when we get to the beach, I'm going to put half on the shirts team and half on the skins team because we had shirts for everybody.
I just want to say I've never felt so bad for a human in my life. The way I felt for you when we all got to set and you said
as soon as I said that, I got. Well, first of all, they all looked at me like in a way I'd never been looked at before. They were very angry.
Well, and to preface too, everyone
We were
was
also starving.
They were dehydrated, they were starving, and they all instantly were all hitting me up to be on
the shirt
skins. No, the skins.
skins.
Everybody wanted
Shirts.
skins. Everyone I put on shirts got really mad and flustered and ran off.
grown men crying, just tears everywhere.
So
Because
we
it's
ended up
like,
saying,
that was for
okay,
nothing.
yeah, all skins except for Bob.
I was gonna say names.
Let's not name people.
I'll say.
I gave someone a pep talk. He was off in a corner and he was like standing like this, like kind of kicking sand. And I was like, buddy, what's going on? I was like, buddy, what's going on? He's like, oh, I just worked so hard. I was like, I bet you could talk to Joe. He might put you on the skins team. And then I think I went up to him. I was like, Joe, you can't do this to
Yeah, you
them.
can't do this to Jack. And once I told Jack he could be on skins, then I was like, all right, everyone's on skins. And then everyone was smiling.
Just ripped off. Just
Actual tears rolling down this man's face.
He had like 4% body fat. You could see, like, it was paper thin skin. He had done everything to get there.
But you also have to understand
All
how
was
hard we
They all
worked
was.
for that and how much we did not eat. I mean, we saw the first Top Gun in the volleyball scene and we was like, we have to top that. That was not top the aerial sequence. We were like, no, we gonna top that sand sequence.
We're just talking about how hard it was to look so ripped on screen right now. You guys don't understand. We worked so hard for that montage.
Wait, Glenn, what's the motto?
What?
Montage?
Montages last forever. That's what I kept saying in the hotel
He said that
chat.
every day.
He had an Instagram post of him working out with a private trainer, and he had that caption. And I remember showing it to everyone, like, oh shit, he's going for it. And then at that point, everyone at like 6 in the morning was at the hotel gym. working out.
And
Every
it wasn't
6
it
a.m.
wasn't just
checking
an
in.
empty caption though. It was
Not
like
everyone.
I went to the gym. I went to the gym just to see what was going on. See what everyone was talking about all the time.
John was building garages all over San Diego.
I was just sleeping in. John changes when you hit 50. You're like, you're smart enough to go, don't go up in the plane. Leave the gym behind.
John,
I had shoes on.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say, have you ever had so many clothes on at the beach before?
Socks. I was shredded underneath that. I knew it. I knew it. We didn't need to show everybody.
Miles, you alluded to this, but you are very convincing playing the piano, doing Great Balls of Fire, and I know that was important to you. I know that you actually met with a teacher to be convincing. My question
Well,
is,
I'm playing it.
oh, you're actually playing.
Oh,
After
yeah.
7 weeks, you could. Well, it's only a couple. Chords.
No. I mean, the song is very hard, and there's no way I would have been able to play it had I not had my mom not had a piano in my house growing up. But yeah, no, it was really hard. I really underestimated it. But the hardest part was when you record it. When you're doing it live, you can kind of miss some notes and stuff. But when you're recording it, it is note for note. You're on the metronome, and yeah, no, that was really tough. That's why it was convincing.
Right. So, for the others who were singing along, were they rushing or dragging?
No, I'm gonna have to watch the tape back, but I'm sure somebody messed up.
That was a total movie nerd question that 3 people understood. So thank you.
Big fan, Miles. I'm a big fan.
It just wasn't that funny. Glenn, not to get all serious here, but one thing I really love about you in this movie as Hangman is that I feel that there's this really interesting parallel between you and the character. Both of you, so you did audition for Rooster, but then you decided not to be in the movie when you didn't get Rooster, but then you talked to Tom and you kind of developed the character of Hangman. Hangman, likewise, is someone who is not selected, but then comes back and makes this really big impact, as you do in this movie. Did you think about that a lot while you were filming it, and was that particularly satisfying?
Yeah, there was actually one moment where Charles Parnell, when Hangman doesn't get chosen for the team, looked at me, he's like, this kind of resembles, I'm like, yeah, I got it. I picked up on it. No, I mean, I gotta say, the greatest part of this journey is those sort of dramatic moments where, Miles and we were down in Florida, auditioning for this thing and up for the dramatic thing of auditioning for the role and then losing it and then being a part of a cast and trying to find your way and then all being friends and being part of a squadron. Art imitated life and life imitated art in a wonderful way where that's Hangman's journey and that was my journey as well. And it's kind of the most beautiful way. I don't know any other way to say it other than it's been the perfect ride.
I love it. Let me end with a question for all 8 of the cast members. If you wouldn't mind completing this sentence for me. I'm going to start with you, Miles. Compared to since Tom Cruise isn't here, we're just going to talk about it. Compared to what I expected, Tom Cruise was much more.
Oh, glad he started.
Everyone's phones just go up.
I don't know, because you expect so much, but he was even more Tom Cruise than I expected Tom to be. Final answer, move on.
Fine.
That's it.
Jerry already knew him, so yeah.
Tom Cruise uses more emojis in LOL than I expected.
Tarzan. He was much more what?
He was
You
Tom.
can change the sentence.
Oh, yeah, you can change it.
Oh, all right.
Well, I'll allow it.
Go against the grain, baby.
Everybody's waiting.
They want to know each of our individual experiences.
Inhabit matter can break the rules, buddy.
All right.
Do your own way.
He was much more loving than I expected.
All right. Good answer.
Oh, good answer.
Lewis?
I would say for the man that is probably the busiest man I've ever met, he made the most time for us. I don't know how it felt like he grabbed time right out of the vapor in the air.
Can I take my answer back real quick?
Yeah. Did I inspire you?
No,
You did
it's
inspire
actually
me,
my
because-
turn, and then if you take.
No, I promise I'm gonna take it. I promise. I may
There's no way
take
to
it.
know. Simply
I'll
no
say
way to
this,
know.
but no, it's your answer, which is I've called Tom. You call Tom for something. You say, hey, like I just need a little advice. That is the busiest man. Is it right? Oh, I'm sorry. And you will literally be on the phone with this man for an hour.
This is gonna keep on dancing.
So we'll stealing the kill.
Say all the answers. Say every single answer.
Okay, no, it's just he will literally spend an hour on the phone with you. You expect like, hey, can I just ask you something for 5 minutes? And it will literally be a chat about all these different movies and the advice, and I made a mistake here, but it turned into this, and you'll literally sit there with the busiest man you've ever met, and he has the most time for you.
I love it.
I hate giving a sarcastic, silly answer. He does use emojis and LOL, but he also has more time for anybody than I've ever seen, and he has the least amount of time than anybody I've ever met.
I want to change mine real quick. It's not
Everyone's like calling him 31 straight. What's going on right here?
Wow, did it? He's very caring. You don't expect somebody to
Loving and caring. Loving and caring. Move on.
No, it's
Monica.
If you use it in different senses, it's a different.
You
Listen,
guys saw the cell phone videos come out to me.
Wow, this is it.
Wanna make
This whole
sure you have
thing was
your
supposed to
answer.
be 8 words. Monica, Tom Cruise is much more what?
Well, I agree with everything that's been said. He was much more of a mentor than I expected.
caring.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard because I do think like he, for each one of us individually, has given so much one-on-one time, as well as like, you know, talking to us as a group, and you know, he just is like lived this incredible life working with so many of the greats and then becoming one himself, and he speaks so humbly about all the people he's worked with, and so it was really incredible to get to learn about, you know, everything that he's done in like a patient, calm way. And yeah, we can call him anytime. Not one word, so many words that had already been said.
Well, I agree with everything everyone has said. I think he's much more present than I thought someone could be with everything he's doing. Okay. We're just gonna
I'm sorry.
hurt people.
This is actually something that's different. It's actually something that's different. He was much more funny than I expected. He was funnier than I expected.
You just took Danny's answer.
The end of my answer. That was
Oh,
a
don't
punchline.
do that to me, Tarzan. You can't listen in a room for a long time.
He was like, well, yeah, Tom was, no, he's funny. He's funny.
He's very present, which makes him very funny. No, he does so much, and like when he's there with you, nothing else matters. He's locked in on whether motivating you, giving you advice, whatever it is that like he sees exactly what in some ways you need, and what we were doing was very tough up there. And I just kept thinking back on this audio that you played us in the final act, that you're like, this is actually what you guys are doing up there, and all this emotion and all this love, and the whole film is going to lead up to this, which is the rawest of all emotion, which is, I don't want to spoil the audio, but that was something that like the whole experience is very taxing when your art imitates life and life imitates art. And Tom, knowing what we're going through, his presence and him being so present with you there was sometimes the thing that helped you push through what was very taxing, both physically and emotionally.
Jay Ellis.
There's been so much said that honestly I don't know what the question was. To be quite honest,
Do you really want me to say?
yeah, say it again.
Compared to what I expected,
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was much more.
Thank you.
What was your answer? Present.
Present. Oh, present. And then I added.
And funny.
That's a long way to get there.
I took it.
What's yours, Jay?
Sorry, Jay, before you go, we're going to go back to
I will say this is a hard question for all of us, because I think that the answer that every single person is giving is what every single one of us, because you don't just experience Tom in one way, right? Like we all, what everyone has said, we've all gotten to like interface with him and spend time with him and learn from him in so many different ways. And so I'm gonna kind of use a bit of a cop-out and say so much more than what everyone has said. Like, Tom Cruise is so much more than the most amazing things you can say about a human that everyone on this panel has already said.
I like it. John, take us home.
Well, I remember when I first met Tom when I was building his garage. It reminded me, I think really what Jay said is and I'll encapsulate it in a similar way, and I will, we all, including everyone in the audience, everyone up here, have an image of Tom, and he's a movie star. He's maybe the last movie star. He's an icon. He's a cinematic, thing. But in fact, meeting him and then working with him and spending time with him, as we can all attest to, you realize that he's so much more human than you actually realize. You realize there's a human being, not a superhero, not a movie star icon, all of these things. And he engages with you, as everyone basically has said down the line, in a human way. And if you have an issue with, it doesn't have to be work related, it's career, personal life thing, whatever it happens to be, he engages with you on that level. And for someone who, as Glenn mentioned and several have mentioned, who has so little actual free time, to take whatever that little time is and share it with you is not only really unnecessary on their part, but kind of unheard of for people at that level to engage. We've all heard stories, and some of us have worked with people that have had, been the sort of reverse of that. So that was, I think, the thing I took away with from working on this, having this experience working on this film, was just understanding that at an incredibly profound level, that this is a great actor. He's a wonderful movie star. He's an amazing force of nature in many ways, but he's just also a great human being, and that was a real kind of comfortable feeling to have after going through all of this.
Well, we all thank you guys for sharing your time with us.
John, Joe, Jay, Danny, Monica, Lewis,